Hello everyone, it's Lamani again, and I'm here on your Monday just to make it a tiny bit better with a nice little build guide, kind of meta-analysis, and understanding of where healers are at this point in the game after our most recent nerf. I have a little bit of a hot take, okay? Yes, we did receive a 20% healing nerf, but I would argue that we're actually in a better position now than we were before. Now, give me some time throughout the video to actually explain and show you why things are a little bit easier as far as quality of life, general healing, and I think we can actually put out a little bit more healing than what we used to. Before you jump at my throat and say, we got a 20% nerf, we're bad. Hold on. Just let me explain. Give me some time. The Void Gauntlet has brought in a very, very unique tool set that allows us to heal even more than ever before and also have a complete party-wide AoE source of healing that we don't even have to do. We have to hit one button and everybody else does the work for us. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. I'm going to ease your soul, and maybe a lot of you will switch back to that healing role because I know there are a lot of people who decided to maybe start maining something else because healing wasn't that great and it was more difficult now after the patch. We're dealing with targeting issues and having to scroll your mouse. We now have a 20% nerf. They got rid of our blissful touch AoE, right? They did a lot of things that are not super appealing in the most recent patches. But the Void Gauntlet opens a breath of fresh air and a whole new window for us to excel at our role. Now, before we get into it, I just want to say thank you for the support. Please continue to keep doing that weird YouTube stuff. Please like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell. That would mean a lot to me. I'd appreciate it. Next thing, if you want to connect with me, feel free to leave a comment. I'm always here. I'm always responding to comments. I want to talk to you. I want to hear what you have to say. So leave comments. I'm going to keep talking back. I've been a little late recently, but that's fine. I'll get back to them at some point. Next, join the Discord. There's a Discord of almost 300 of us, which is pretty cool. And we're all on at all hours of the day, ready to answer questions, ready to talk, ready to start up groups, and just hang out. It's been a great time getting to talk to more people. The Discord will be linked in the description, so feel free to join up. Meet some new people, meet me, come talk to me, ask whatever you have to ask. Next, if you want to directly support me, my Patreon's also linked in the description, so feel free to do so. Another thing, I'm looking to live stream soon. Let me know if you'd rather see me on Twitch, YouTube, whatever you want. I want to start getting this live content so that I can actually interact with a lot of you. All right, so now with our video. Okay, I think there is a somewhat new meta for the Life Staff. It's similar, it's basically the same, but the Void Gauntlet changes things up and makes us even stronger. This new setup that we have allows us to have a 15% rend at all times. It allows us to heal without even using the Life Staff and maintain a group's health on a single target fight, honestly without even putting a heal down. And I healed an entire Lazarus boss without even using my Life Staff. It gives us a lot more utility and it makes our life so much easier. It kind of compensates for that 20% healing that we just lost in this patch. So there's a lot to talk about. We're going to cover everything. I will recover the Life Staff and walk you through and do my deep dive like I normally would, but the build for the Life Staff is essentially the same. I'm going to tell you why we take the points that we do, just for anybody who's new, and make sure that you have all your bases covered, and I give you some new knowledge on everything else I've learned. So we have Life Staff, we have Void Gauntlet, and a whole new healing meta. All right, everyone, so here we are in newworldcalculator.org, and I'm going to warn you before we get into the Life Staff. It is completely the same. So if you don't want to hear why I'm picking the things that I'm picking, if you aren't new here, maybe you want a refresher, go ahead and skip the bookmark if you just want kind of my final conclusion on it and want to build again. But for those of you who want an actual deep dive, we're going to get into the Life Staff. So first point we're going to put in, Absolved. This is going to make Life Staff light and heavy attacks no longer take any mana. Absolutely OP because we combo it with something like Blissful Touch. And this is going to heal our targets for 20% weapon damage when it passes through an ally. You can line it up right where you can shoot through your entire team, heal everybody, 20% weapon damage, all of your healing modifiers stack on top of that. I'm hitting people for mid 500, 600 a shot at least, sometimes 7, depending on how they are, with a light attack. It's pretty nuts if you ask me. I think it's one of the most underrated masteries that we actually have. So, Blissful Touch, insane. What else are we going to take? Mending Touch, Life Staff heavy attacks remove a debuff. So when there's a bleed on somebody, a poison, some kind of weakness, you can take it right off. Easy, works just like Blissful Touch. Where are we going to go next? I'd go into Sacred Ground, and I'm going to max that out. Sacred Ground gives you a chunky heal. It's going to go over 1,000 to 1,100 a piece right now at where I'm at. It's only 15 mana, 20-second cooldown. You reduce that super quick. You'll get 50% faster stamina and mana regen. This was nerfed along with Sacred Ground healing. Actually, it's not 20% anymore. These tooltips aren't updated on any of the builders really yet, so just keep that in mind. It is 18%, I believe, on live, 16% on live. Yeah, 16%. So you can check that out. And then we also get blessed from this, a 50% increase healing effectiveness when somebody's in Sacred Ground. This is what really makes Sacred Ground worth. So even though it's nerfed and the healing is like 16%, it still can hit for about 1,000 apiece, 1,000 every second. That's a lot of healing over time if you can keep people in it. And we run Fortifying Sacred Ground, so a little bit of Fortify on top. Great heal, one of our biggest, girthiest heals that we have. Where to next? Revitalize. Okay, so this is cooldown reduction. This is what combos really, really well with refreshing strikes that we have on our life staff. So when we light attack, we get this 5% reduction, but then we also get the refreshing strikes reduction on top of that. This also, having refreshing strikes on our life staff, gives us so that when we heavy attack to get our intensify rolling, which is where our next point would probably go, it gives us even more reduction. So intensify then, increase healing by 10% for 10 seconds, max of 3 stacks. This is very easy to keep at 3 stacks. Just once in a while, weave in a quick heavy attack. Every 10 seconds, it should be pretty manageable. And then we can snapshot that effectiveness on top of things like Bend Light to get an even chunkier Sacred Ground or a beacon going. Where to next? Desperate Speed, more cooldown reduction. So whenever you heal somebody below 50% health, we get a reduced cooldown by 10%. And that can happen every 5 seconds. So what we could theoretically do is shoot a Blissful Touch, get that 20% heal. We get the reduction from Revitalize, we get the reduction from Refreshing Strikes, and then because we healed somebody below 50% with that, we get another 10% on top of that, making a lot of our cooldowns back online. Last point, Sacred Protection. While holding a life staff, increase the base health of all friendlies in your group by 5%. Free heal. This is going to increase our floor of Light's Embrace, which is now an 80% heal on life instead of 100%. So, Sacred Protection is really good, and that'll put us at Divine Blessing. So when we heal an ally below 50%, 30% effectiveness increase. Really, really strong. Way better than this side. I'm really hoping sometime in the future they kind of fine-tune Magnify and really buff the Protector side of things, make it more interesting for healers and give us more options. Something I will say on the healing side. I will never take Divine Embrace over Light's Embrace. Light's Embrace, we make it so we have a higher floor that always heals higher than Divine Embrace, and then it can just amplify it even more once we have more buffs through things like Sacred Ground and Beacon, making Light's Embrace, I still hit like 6 to 7k Light's Embraces. I will never do that with Divine Embrace. Something I will say, okay? Splash of Light. Actually, it got a buff on live. So we got about a 10% buff to Splash of Light, going up from 50% to 60% weapon damage heal on everybody. Now, does that make it super worth? Well, with my life staff and with a full Intensify and a Bend Light going, I was hitting it for 2k. So that it could be, right? Because you could heal every single person in your group. It's a 100 meter radius. Every single person in the party gets healed. Cooldown 15 seconds. We can bring that down pretty fast. I don't personally take it for a couple reasons, and I think that's mainly because I just prefer the Beacon gameplay style, and I think that there's more we can do because we have a little bit more downtime in the sense of it takes a little bit of time to get like this whole clap thing going with the Splash of Light, and in that time I can shoot off a 3-stack Intensify, somebody standing in a Sacred Ground effectiveness, and snapshot it with a Bend Light Beacon, which will heal for like 800 a second, and shoot off a couple, I don't know, Blissful Touches or do something else, and get just as much healing and have it longer and more consistent. And it's just a constant stream of heals. I'm not as worried. I'm not having to kind of stress about making sure I can get a cooldown back online to heal everybody. And I think there's a lot more that we can do with Beacon. And because of the way we're setting up our new meta with the Void Gauntlet, we really, really benefit from having heals over time as opposed to on-demand healing. But if you're somebody that really likes Splash of Light, you have a tough time kind of targeting your teammates, feel free to take it instead of something like Beacon, but I will never get rid of Sacred Ground. Sacred Ground does too much heal for the tank, gives them stamina back, gives everybody just a lot of healing, and it's another source of Fortify in the build. So I will never drop Sacred Ground. But you could drop Splash of Light for Beacon, if you want. This is what I would do on the healing side of things. Protector side, Bend Light is too strong. You dash and you get a 20% effectiveness increase. Snapshot that onto a Beacon or a Sacred Ground. And what I mean by snapshotting is when you do something to buff up your heals before you put it out, it'll do more effectiveness, right? I don't want to put out my Sacred Ground or my Beacon before I get the 20%. It just wouldn't make sense and it would heal less. So ideally, in our best situation, is what we would do is we'd Bend Light, get our Intensifies going, And then we would put down Sacred Ground to get the 50% increase, because this is about the max we could do for Sacred Ground, then Beacon on top of that. So then they have a 15 seconds of the absolute max heal over time that they can get. Where would I put my next point? Protector Touch. This is fantastic for PvE, PvP healing. 15% fortify ourselves when we hit with a light or heavy attack. Constant 15% fortify. And then because we take stuff like that, Protector Strength is really great. If you have a buff, heal for 10% more. Obviously, this isn't the only buff, but this is a constant buff we have, an active buff. We also get buffs through Spirits United, buffs through Sacred Protection. So we'll always have a free 10% healing, which I think is really, really good. Then we take Beacon. Beacon's going to keep doing healing over time. It's going to last up to 15 seconds because we put in Radiance's Blessing. So we have this 15-second heal over time that is hitting for like 700 to 800 a second with my life staff and my current setup, and it's going to do more as I get better life staff. So I'm really trying to grind for a better one here, but it's tough to replace our faction one. We take Infused Life, so the area of effect is 50% larger. Everybody in melee gets hit. It's super easy. And then because you're a healer, if you're holding a life staff, you can toe dip into Beacon, so toe dip by running into it, and you get a 15-second heal over time without having to stay in Beacon. But with patch 1.0.4, we actually had a change that not everybody could toe dip. So if you want healing in your group from Beacon, they have to stay in Beacon. So you're going to have to stick it to the boss or stick it to the tank. I've found to be the most effective to get the most Beacon healing possible. So try to do that as best as you can. What's our final ability? Light's Embrace. There's no stronger heal in the game. I mean, you can argue Sacred Ground, but then Light's Embrace. We just do the biggest heals with it. It is so much healing. It's your burst heal. You absolutely need something like Light's Embrace for dungeon healing. You could try to substitute Splash of Light, but that's just not going to do what we need. It's a 4-second cooldown. I can hit a 6 to 7k heal and make sure anybody who's about to die, just top them right back up. You could try also to run Orb of Protection, but again, with the recent changes to Genesis and Lazarus is honestly easier than Genesis. You could not really heal that damage that comes out. It's pretty difficult. I'm sure you could, but it's going to make you a lot more stressed than anything else. So I would highly suggest taking Light's Embrace with how much healing we get out of it. And then what you do is you take Spirits United. So if we take Spirits United and we take Sacred Protection, this is giving our party constantly 2 buffs, meaning we get an additional 60% healing on our Light's Embrace. And with the healing numbers on live, that is still higher than Divine Embrace. So no matter what, if we take these 2, we get a higher floor for Light's Embrace. And then because we have other buffs like Beacon and all the buffs that Sacred Ground give us, we have an even higher ceiling that we can push it way, way past Divine Embrace. It has basically no cast time, less mana, and a lower cooldown. Divine Embrace, in my opinion, is just way outscaled by Light's Embrace. It's kind of just unnecessary. Sure, you can get Shared Struggle and maybe kind of AoE heal with it, but it's just not that worth. It really isn't worth at all. I can probably get 2 Light's Embraces out almost by the time I would benefit from Shared Struggle. And again, with all of our other healing, it's going to be difficult to even have people below 50% health in all honesty. But you do you. If you prefer Divine Embrace, I'm just giving you my setup, what I believe to be the true meta for healing as of patch 1.1. That's everything. This is the healing setup. This is the healing setup I've been running since the start of the game. I think this is the most effective PvE healing setup. I think this is as good as you can get. You can maybe take Splash of Light instead of something like Beacon, so you get more AoE healing. If you're an Orb of Protection Lord, you could maybe flex it, but I don't recommend it. And I just think Divine Embrace is way outscaled by Light's Embrace to even take it. I think these 3 abilities are somewhat undertuned in comparison to these 3 when comboed together. So if you want to get the most healing effectiveness out there, you want to put out the most healing and make it the easiest for yourself, I would take this setup personally. All right, so I have a spicy hot take with this Void Gauntlet. It makes me super happy to play it. I love the playstyle of healing, and I think it's better. The healing meta is better now in patch 1.1 than it was before the nerf to Life Staff. I think it's easier, and I think we can put out more healing. So what do? What's the bread and butter? We're going to go into Decay, and we're going to take all points into Orb. So Orb itself, when you shoot it out, it'll do some damage, 100% weapon damage, but it'll also apply Disintegrate. Disintegrate is great because not only is it giving us a 5% weapon damage per second dot, but it's also giving us a 5% rend that applies to the whole team, everybody's damage, and that can stack up to 3 times. And with the way we set it up, we can pretty much always manage a 15% rend and just get things absolutely annihilated. I was running Lazarus, I would keep the rend up on every boss, and we were just running through it without even hitting second phases. We would skip the phases. right? With the little lizard lady, we wouldn't even get into arcane phases. With the big laser guy, we wouldn't get into the last laser phase because we were pumping out so much damage because Rend and I could sit there and do damage and healing. It's really, really busted, and I'm excited to show it off. So on the way back, it brings this green colored orb, and everybody it passes through gets a heal over time for 20% weapon damage a second. I was having it tick for about 500 healing per. It scales off focus, all that jazz. But it's not actually 5 seconds. I was getting it on live for 8, and I'm not sure why that buff was increasing. I'm not sure if it has something to do with our focus. I don't know. So I'd be interested. Maybe that's a bug. But in general, even if it's 5 seconds, it's still very, very good. What else do we get from it? 5% mana back per enemy hit. We put a slow on. But detonating orb is the real nice thing here. So what can happen is you can hit your ability key again, and it'll either apply to the damage phase or the healing phase. If you do it on the damage, it'll just explode for more damage. But if you do it on the healing phase, we get a 70% weapon damage heal, scaling with focus. But what you can do is if you're farther enough back, you shoot out your orb, it'll tag everybody with the hot, and right after it tags your whole team, pop it, and it'll heal everybody. So then they get both benefits of it. It's just a timing thing. It's something you'll have to get down, but it's really strong for a quick burst of healing if you need it, and putting a very strong heal over time on your team. Where do we go next? Essence Rupture. This is the meta swap here. So not only do we have a new heal over time, we also get that Rend, but Essence Rupture is what really makes us heal even more than ever before. So with Essence Rupture, we tag the target for 10 seconds, and anybody that hits that target heals for 20% of the damage they deal. That is OP. With how much damage people are putting out in live right now, they heal themselves, right? You could put a beacon and an Essence Rupture on something and then just go run up and start hitting them, right? You don't have to do anything. Essence Rupture pays for itself. This is why I don't bother taking Splash of Light, because I have a global AoE heal through one button that people do for me, right? So I have everybody in the group, the tank, every single DPS, and especially for the DPS, they're just keeping themselves topped off because Essence Rupture lasts for 10 seconds and has like a 15-second cooldown. So you essentially have 5 seconds of downtime if you're not swinging with your Void Gauntlet and trying to get crits. If you're critting the target with your Void Gauntlet on, this has 100% uptime, easy as a healer. So there's phases where I'm doing it on a boss and I just constantly have Essence Rupture up. But in general, what you do is you just apply this to whatever target. Is it a boss, a random trash pack? Put it on one of them and it's free healing. Stuff you don't have to do. And anybody that hits it gets this healing. And you just call it out, be like, this target has it. Sometimes it's a little hard to see the debuff, but if you call out the target, they'll know and they'll focus that one harder. So Essence Rupture is what makes the new meta work and makes it better than our previous meta. It's so much fun. Then we just take Invigorating Rupture, so people will get 15 stamina when hitting the affected target, and Overflowing Essence is what puts the cherry on top. We get an 80% weapon damage heal that scales off focus when those 10 seconds are over. So 10 seconds is up, it pops, we have 5 seconds then. That should be enough healing to keep a lot of people alive, and then we just do it all over again. And they heal themselves, you do whatever you can, and there's more healing that we get out of the Void Gauntlet from Orb of Decay, and then there's even more when we go into the Annihilation side, funny enough. We're going to have to put 10 points in the Annihilation side. So I just put 1 point into getting Radiant Efficiency. I think this is great. Mana costs reduced by 25% while above 50% mana. Why not take that? Helps us set up a little harder. And now to truly get the most healing out of our Void Gauntlet, we actually have to shift over to the Annihilation side. So what do? I'm going to take Void Blade and take almost every single passive, and I'll talk through why. But the goal of what we need is to get Void Caller. Why do we want Void Caller? So when we hit 6 stacks after using abilities, we then get a 30% weapon damage heal over time, stacking off focus lasting 5 seconds. This has a 20-second cooldown, but this is a lot of healing people. I'm hitting for like 800 to 900 a tick sometimes, almost into 1,000, and I'm sure with Blessed on your Void Gauntlet, you will do so much more. Void Gauntlets can roll with Blessed, improving Void Caller, improving Orb of Decay. Don't know if it affects Essence Rupture, but it would affect Overflowing Essence. A lot of healing potential here. While this is only a 20-second cooldown, you can use it to effectively burst heal your group in any kind of like trash pack, or you can use it to top them off in a boss situation. You can maintain them with Orb of Decay and Essence Rupture, and then top them off, let's say they're at half health, with Void Caller. You can get them from half to full. Certainly. Pretty easy. Can you actually main heal with the Void Gauntlet? Probably not, but is there a way we could figure it out? Maybe with Blessed and running all kinds of stuff? Maybe. So let's talk about why we take these things on the Annihilation side and not something like Oblivion to actually buff our group up. Voidblade is the only one where I can auto attack essentially and get stacks of Void Caller, but also get stacks of Disintegrate rolling. Because the ability itself counts on every single light attack, it allows you to stack it. If I was to use something like Oblivion, I would have to hit 6 different people between Orb of Decay, Essence Rupture, and Oblivion, making this not possible on a boss fight. It'd be very, very difficult on a single target because it's not every tick of Oblivion, it's just the initial tick that gives you a stack of this. So you'd have to hit multiple targets. So this is the only way to actually get Void Caller to heal. It is very easy to keep 3 stacks of Disintegrate too, because Disintegrate only applies on Orb of Decay usage and Void Blade usage. So the only way to get that 15% Ren then is also through managing Void Blade on top of Orb of Decay. So we use Void Blade for that. I take the Fortify so that I can get up in melee and do some work. I'll just take the extra critical hit damage. Why not? It's extra chunky damage for my group. I'll take the cooldown reduction between Frailty and Refreshing Precision just to make sure that Essence Rupture has a high uptime and a lot of healing over time can come from Orb of Decay as well. We'll take Forsaken Pact just because why not take extra damage chance? We'll take Keen Confidence to get the extra crit to then maybe get more Refreshing Precision procs, to get more orbs out for more burst healing too on the pop and the heal over time, and Essence Rupture uptime. We also just take Leeching Agony because then it keeps ourselves up, and this combos really well with something like Essence Rupture because then we can heal ourselves. Something else with the Essence Rupture is if we put it on and then swap to our Life Staff and then start trying to get Blissful Touches out, we'll heal ourselves for 20% of that damage that we do. So in a 1,000 hit, you'll heal 200 damage every time. Perfect self-healing, it's perfect group healing. We get Leeching Agony just to keep ourselves topped off, and we take Empowering Proximity because why not just pump up our damage output, right? Same thing, if you've watched my OP damage Void Gauntlet video and my Mastering the Void Gauntlet video, you'll understand why we take Empowering Proximity. Essentially, the rotation for this is exactly the same. Just swap Scream for Essence Rupture. I also think you could effectively use this as a DPS. This build applies for that as well. You can pump out so much damage, even as a healer. I'm still critting for like 1400 on a light attack, which I think is absolutely absurd, and healing my group. So, the new meta for healing, while it doesn't necessarily rely on Void Caller, this is what allows you to completely swap to a damage, pump out some damage with your sword on trash packs, get dots on everything, rend them with Void Blade, use Orb to get more Disintegrates on, get heals over time, and an instant heal. But Essence Rupture is what really makes this new meta incredible. So when I'm healing on a boss, I'm not really Void Blading unless I feel confident in my group to survive, and I just want to pump damage and have some fun. I'm relying on Orb of Decay to get my rend up, and it'll last long enough by the time I can get another Orb of Decay out, or I can just pop Void Blade and get 2 more stacks, and Essence Rupture. So what I'll do is I'll Essence Rupture first, Orb of Decay second, give them the heal over time, and allow my group to keep themselves up. Then I'll stack Intensify, then I'll get Beacon out, I'll get Sacred Ground out, all that stuff. But in general, this, if you're coming from the bookmark, is my suggested healing meta secondary for the Life Staff. The Void Gauntlet will do a ton of healing just through Orb of Decay, and Essence Rupture gives us a party-wide AoE heal that is managed by your DPS and the damage that they do. The more damage they do, the more healing they receive. Void Gauntlet is so much fun, and I think this makes up for the 20% nerf that we received from this patch. Okay, so let's get into gearing and attributes here. What kind of loadout am I running? I'm a medium god. I only run medium. I feel the best in medium. I think we get the most healing output in comparison to actual defensiveness, and I like how mobile we are and how many iframes we can get with our hop step. You now deal 15% bonus healing. This isn't a flat 15 based on your stat values. It's based on naked character values with no gear on. It's still more healing in the long run. If you want to run heavy, that's totally fine. It gives you more survivability. You can take more shots and you have more margin for error. So if you feel like you're going to have a hard time dodging things, go heavy. In terms of PvP, I still run medium. You can run heavy. It's totally up to you and how you play. So I run medium. I'm on all focus con gear, right? That's the general idea, is getting as much focus as we can, do everything we can to compensate for that 20% nerf. The one perk I will say you absolutely need on your armor is Fortifying Sacred Ground. A lot of you are used to me talking about this. I always run Fortifying Sacred Ground on every single loadout that I run. Every hybrid build, it's just too strong not to take. The one other one I will say that I do not have is Revitalizing Beacon. I just can't find it anywhere. Gives you more self-healing after you've been hit with Beacon. So that's a very, very strong one as well. Keep that one in mind. Get as much cooldown reduction as you can. Get whatever physical resistances that you can. Fortifying Sacred Ground, though, is a must because it has so much potential to block damage, and it keeps going the entire duration of Sacred Ground and can give your whole team a Fortify. Very, very, very strong. Otherwise, just shoot for Focus Con gear. I really need to re-itemize, but shooting for those perks. Accessories, here's my neck. What do we want on a neck? 1, we want health. 2, we love Divine. My favorite neck in the game is right here, and that gives Divine, Fortified, and health. This would be the God roll. If we can get longer Fortifies, get more incoming healing to ourselves, and get more maximum health, that would be absolutely perfect. This comes from Request in Shattered Mountains, but with mine, I have focus on it. I get as close as I can to that. I have health and then refreshing for max cooldown reduction. Looking for Divine and Fortified on a neck though, too. The big one, I think health gives you a lot more wiggle room as far as taking less con, so that you can pump more into focus and have higher healing to compensate for the 20% loss that we just had. In general, health, Fortified, Divine. That's what we want there. Here's my ring. This comes from Eternal Pools. It drops off like the bear and some of the tentacles up there. This is a god tier healing ring. We get 20 focus. We get Brilliant, so we have more max mana. It puts me at like 129. It's pretty good, but I'm sure you can get other things and argue for different things. But Sacred is the real big one here. We want to have that outgoing healing, the biggest role that we possibly can. So I love having Brilliant and Sacred. That extra mana sometimes can make or break things, and Sacred is just an absolute must. So in general, get whatever you can. Just make sure that you have Sacred on it. That is the big thing. We want more outgoing healing. And then in this setup, I've changed up some stuff. I sometimes run this, but I'm starting to think that perks don't actually stack like Refreshing. So if all the other perks don't stack, why would Refreshing stack? So I think that's just a wasted earring, and I spec more into focus and less into con then. But in general, Ill-Gotten Gain, fantastic. Potion cooldown reduced, that's great for healing. Regenerating, perfect for healing in any role, right? You get more health back over time, and Duplicating Toast is just a nice quality of life thing. Ill-Gotten Gain I've made a video on. It's a very, very good earring. Fantastic. Keep that in mind. Now, as far as weapons go, I'm still using my Covenant Life Staff. I'm going to tell you, go get your Faction Life Staff. It is fantastic. It has Blessed. It has Refreshing Move. Blessed gives you that 18% healing bonus. Refreshing Move is what makes it so you can just keep constantly pumping through beacons and sacred grounds and always have those off cooldown. It stacks with your light attack reduction in the Mastery tree. We want full focus on it, and we're going to want a Diamond. Diamonds are going to increase outgoing healing while at full health. If you can find a Life Staff with Fortifying Sacred Ground and Blessed, like the one that comes out from Outpost Rush caches, go for it, grab it. Otherwise, I think our best in slot Life Staff actually comes from Lazarus. There is a Life Staff that rolls with these, focus, has a diamond in it already, and is an absolute high god tier roll. So try to get that one if you possibly can. Now my Void Gauntlet is still set up for damage. If you've watched my damage video, this is the one that I have. I have been struggling to find one that I would like. Ideally in a Void Gauntlet, what we're looking for is a focus roll, which I do not have, but that's okay. This still does a ton of healing. I can do more damage with my setup, but if I had a focus roll on it, that would be great. Then, what I really want is Blessed. You can get Blessed to roll down Void Gauntlets. It would be incredibly strong for all of our healing and help it heal more, just like the Life Staff does. And then that third one is kind of a flex one. It could be just more damage, like you maybe take Vicious, or maybe you take something like Keenly Jagged, or Keenly Empowered, just for the more damage piece. Or maybe you take something like Lifesteal. It's kind of your second flex pick. In general, if you're healing with a Void Gauntlet, you need Blessed. And I'll look more into some of the other perks eventually, just to figure out, okay, what is absolute best as a second perk. Blessed, though, would be fantastic. You can pretty much use any Void Gauntlet, though, with the setup, because the majority of our Void Gauntlet healing is actually coming from Essence Rupture. So get what you can get. I'm still using my damage one. That's why I still have an Opal in it. I will also say, if you're running a Void Gauntlet for healing, put another diamond in there, right? Think about this as a second Life Staff. It's like a secondary Life Staff. You're going to want a diamond, and you're going to want Blessed. That is absolutely necessary if you want to really sweaty heal. I just wanted more damage out of mine, so I kept using this one. So keep your eyes out for one that has Blessed on it. So our weapons are essentially identical. We want Blessed, Blessed, Diamond, Diamond. Okay, that's about it. I put Onyxes in my gear just for physical reduction. I would do Onyxes just because I feel like there's more physical damage in the game, so I want more physical reduction. A lot of the ones in our accessories we can't actually change. It's just how they roll, so unfortunately there's not much you can do there. So take what you can get. But in general, I'm throwing in Onyxes, Diamonds, and then whatever. All right, now let's get into attributes. So here's what I have. I have 33 int just because of my Void Gauntlet. I don't want this ideally, but if you could push with some food to the 50, you could just get more damage output. and that would apply to your life staff. So consider that. We have some diminishing returns once we go past like 250, 300 focus, that it just doesn't give us a whole lot. It gives us like 1 point of damage. So it comes down to, is that actually worth it? I think currently, what else are you going to put it into? You could put it into more con if you feel like you're having survivability issues, but I don't feel that way. So my current split, I'm running 300 focus, 100 con. I don't love having 300 focus. I think you could heal effectively with 250 plus and throw those other 50 points into something like con if you're struggling with health, or maybe throw them into intelligence, or maybe a mix of the two. And that's something I'm going to kind of play around with, see how I'm feeling about just maybe dumping some more into con, dumping some more into int, see how it feels. Maybe just do like an even split so I can get this bubble and then get another 25-ish con. But 300 focus, I think it feels good for healing. I've always kind of hit around this number when I'm healing an expedition. Especially with the nerf, I'll take everything I can get at this point just to make sure that we can heal the best that we can. The 300 bubble is garbage. I've never had it actually work. You have to hit 0 mana perfectly for it to proc. So whatever, but 10% cooldown reduction for fast travel. I guess that's kind of nice. Next one, 30 mana on any self or group kill. This is fantastic. This is a really, really good one. And if you're running an expedition, this is why I say you have to at least hit 250 points. It works so well for the Void Gauntlet, works so well for the Life Staff. Any mob that you're killing is giving you 30 mana, making you have to use less mana potions. And in general, you're using less mana potions because we can use Harvest Essence on our Void Gauntlet and always cap off our mana. So super nice. Okay, so for the 200 point, the 20% duration on casted buffs, I'm not really sure where this all applies. It doesn't work on Beacon still, and I'm not sure if it really works on Sacred Ground. But if you do watch, when I use this on my Void Gauntlet and it comes back, this is supposed to be 5 seconds, and I get a 7-second one. So I'm not sure if that has something to do with that. But again, if you look at Beacon, what you'll see is I get an 18-second buff, but as soon as I hit 3 seconds on that, like my 15 seconds are up, it's going to disappear. So if we wait just 5 more seconds here, I can show you, awkwardly waiting, still waiting awkwardly, and eventually it'll hit that and boom, gone, right? There was supposed to be another 3 seconds there and it didn't give it to you. So that's still bugged, but I'm sure there's something that it helps with. The 150 bubble is the real big one too that allows us to play well in medium armor. We get a 20% healing output increase. This kind of makes up for anything lost that we would get if we were to go from like light to medium, right? Early game, I play light. As soon as I get this bubble, I play medium. That's just how I did it. It helped with Berserk healing, all that jazz. But this is the biggest point other than 250. And then we just get extra mana, and then we get a 10% mana regen rate. So a lot of these are helpful. I'd say the 20% duration on casted buffs is a little confusing because I'm not sure what they're wanting to do with it. I know it does apply to fortifies. And then the 300 bubble is just useless. So it's kind of a hit or miss there. If you want the 300 just for extra pumpage and you don't know where else to go with it, go ahead. I think you're fine at 250, and this is something I'm going to start experimenting with, is going more into int and focusing more on damage to get expedition bosses down faster and help my team. I always go for at least 100 con. Not only because of the 100 bubble. If you think about it, we get an increased max health by 10% of our physical armor. That's not a lot. That's only like 100 something health. But I just think in general, getting to 100 con gives us enough con to actually have enough health. It's not just this bubble that I want. It's the amount of health that I get from doing this. And then on top of that, that puts me over the edge. So like normally I'd be at like 9k health. I get 9.1, right? Why not take it? It's just an extra free one. I'm going to go for 100 anyway so that I can survive. Nonetheless, these are the attributes I think you should have, somewhere between 250, 300 focus, and then 100 con at least. And like I was just saying, I'm going to start testing with 250 focus, probably 50 int, and then 125 con for healing expeditions. All right, so before we really get into everything in the gameplay, let's just cover healing settings because I think that's super beneficial for everybody in the future. 1. Life Staff Combat, I always have a target self macro. It's going to be bound to control by default. I put mine on mouse 5 because I feel like that's easiest to hold in combination with a key input. Do whatever you want. I think it's easiest to use a mouse button. This is what's going to make it so I can just instant cast any heal on myself. So I can hold down my mouse 5, then hit Q, E, or R where my abilities are bound. It doesn't work for Beacon actually, so I couldn't do R, but for Sacred Ground and Light's Embrace, and instantly heal myself without having to bring up the targeting. So make sure you have a good target self bound. I also have something bound for exit auto targeting so that I can just randomly place my Sacred Ground, let's say in like PvP. So I middle mouse click and then I unlock and I can throw out my Sacred Ground wherever I want. Now for actual healing settings, here's what I think. Targeted healing, we want it on. We want freeform camera on so that it does not lock to a target that we have targeted and make your camera follow them. Okay, otherwise you will get motion sick, you'll throw up and it'll keep whipping you around in circles. It'll keep you in a normal view and allow you to see better. So keep freeform camera on, please. Then camera aim retargeting, I have off. Sticky lock, I have off. I have manual target lock on, and then I have group mode on. The big one then is group mode. This makes it so it's easier to heal your party. Maybe you're running out doing elite zones, you only want to heal your party. Have this on. It's great for dungeons. It's great for organized PvP if you're with a group. But what you can do is actually turn this off when you're doing something like Outpost Rush, and whoever you look at then, you can now cast a Light's Embrace on them outside of your group. So when you're running PvP, especially for Wars, Outpost Rush, make sure that you have group mode off. Those are my big suggestions. I always keep group mode on. Otherwise, that's going to really help you heal at all times. All right, let's give you some PvE gameplay to show you what's up, show you what you should be doing. So on pull, what I do is I orb or Essence Rupture first. I always do those two abilities first, no matter what order. I want to get Essence Rupture on them so that the team can keep themselves topped off while I start to get things like Intensify out. And then I can also give them a nice 7-second heal over time that's ticking for about 500 a second. And then worst case scenario, I can just pop my orb and give them a quick burst of healing. Then, again, Intensifies up, I'll beacon, Sacred Ground, do everything like that, and just heal like normal. The goal is to always maintain Intensify, getting that 3-stack, keeping that going, and making sure that you always have Essence Rupture on the target. If you ever get low on mana, feel free to use your Void Gauntlet Harvest Essence and never have to use a mana potion. I still do just habitually because I forget sometimes that I'm not completely used to it. But the real goal is to use Sacred Ground on cooldown, use Beacon on cooldown, and then have Essence Rupture and Orb going out on cooldown as well. Essence Rupture and Orb will keep them topped off. Beacon and Sacred Ground are kind of like that other safety net just to keep constant healing out so that you can do a little bit of damage. What I did do in future runs on this boss specifically is when we got her to go into an arcane phase, I would just do damage. There's no point in me healing here. I'm just shooting with my life staff just for fun and doing extra damage. I'm not really actually healing anybody with all the output I have. So what I would say in the future is always do damage on this phase of the boss. On the last boss, and I'll show you, I only did damage. I completely just did damage the entire phase and never had to do any healing because Essence Rupture Orb and my ultimate ability kept everybody topped off. It was super easy, and that's essentially what you can do on the second phase of this boss here. You can pump out so much damage as a healer. One, I'm already hitting this target with my life staff for 1400, 900 on a light attack, which is nuts, but I can do even more when I have the Void Gauntlet going. So you just get up in melee, hit him with the rend, maintain a rend, do sword damage, you're critting for like 1500 on a light attack, you have a 3-stack dot going, you have your ultimate dot going, and you can heal everybody strictly through Orb and Essence Rupture play. It's more of a healer hybrid where you can flip on a switch to melee damage healing, which is a very unique composition that we have in New World now. Again, your Void Gauntlet gives you so much more utility, so much more output, and gives you a group-wide AoE heal. Literally look at everybody's health. They are keeping themselves up. I'm barely doing any healing. It's strictly through the Void Gauntlet that allows them to keep themselves topped off. I don't have to worry about keeping a beacon up. I don't have to worry about keeping a Sacred Ground up 100% of the time. That uptime is kind of negligible in a sense with the new Void Gauntlet edition. So in general, the healing rotation is as follows. We Essence Rupture, Orb. Make sure Orb hits everybody on the way back, gets them the heal over time. Stack up 3 stacks of Intensify, drop Sacred Ground, then Beacon for the most effective snapshot. While doing those, always make sure that you're dashing to get Bend Light in. That's our healing opener. Then just keep your cooldowns up, make sure you have Essence Rupture constantly on the target, maintain that rend, and just use Light's Embrace as people start to get low health. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can do the other side of healing, through strict damage. Okay, so to do strict Void Gauntlet melee damage healing, what you need to do is keep your sword out, it'll keep your dot going and your rend going for more damage for the team, but you will need to keep Essence Rupture and Orb going. Essence Rupture on cooldown, Orb on cooldown, Orb will give them that heal over time, and Essence Rupture will allow everybody to heal themselves. The beauty of it is as we crit, we keep those cooldowns up. So more things can go online, we can keep Essence Rupture continuously up, and we can just keep orbing. So it's pretty much a constant hot, it's pretty much a constant source of lifesteal. And then our sword, we can proc our ultimate ability, which will then heal the entire group for that huge chunky weapon damage heal. It's so much healing that you can do in melee. So when a boss doesn't have a ton of damage maybe, or when you feel comfortable with your group, you just keep doing this. Essence Rupture, just watch, keeps everybody topped off, and Orb does the rest of the work. Then, let's say you get in a little scary scenario, your ultimate will pop and make sure that everybody gets topped off. It's easy healing, right? It's a cool source of damage, it's super fun to use, and it gives you a lot more group utility as a pseudo 4th DPS in the group. So much fun to play, and I love this new healing meta. So, what are my final thoughts? I think we're stronger than we ever have been before. Void Gauntlet makes us a force to be reckoned with that has damage, extra healing, and ways to AoE heal that we just weren't capable of before. This gives us so much coverage, allows the DPS to kind of do their thing, It gives you a window where you can just pump out a lot of extra damage for your team and get bosses down faster, meaning there's less healing in general. I think this is the strongest healer setup we've ever seen, even though we have a 20% nerf. Debate it with me, talk to me about it, let me know what you think. I think Essence Rupture alone is the meta, right? It doesn't matter what other Void Gauntlet abilities you use. I like the setup I have because it gives me a little bit more damage window opportunity while pumping out some extra chunky healing, but Essence Rupture is the new meta. While we lost this 20% on the life staff, we gain essentially a 20% weapon damage leech. That's nuts. Okay, everybody does it, everybody can heal, and I think it makes healing so much easier than it was before. It really helps on tough boss fights and just giving another source on trash packs when you mark one target. Use it, let me know how you feel about it. I absolutely love it, and this is the new life staff healing meta for New World. If you like the video, please keep doing that weird YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe. We're building this huge community, and I want you to ring that bell. I want you to see my videos, and I love the direction we're going. Also, if you want to join the Discord, the link is in the description. We're always there, ready to answer questions, and I love hanging out with everybody. Let's keep building it. Let's keep building this community together and do incredible things. We have tons planned for the future. If you're wanting to support me directly, please hit up my Patreon. It's also linked in the description. Right now, I'm going to just list off everybody because I appreciate your support. So thank you, Jacob, Adrian, Thuggius, Shane, Gil, Schmeezy, Anarino, Ethan, Ajuro, Nathaniel, Thonar, Chad, Nicasio, Joseph, Tarvi, Mummy, Generic Guy, Ronan, Ralph, Bob, Florian, Blue Beagle, GDB, Jay Kitchens, Wentz, and Dexter. Thank you all for your continual support. Thank you, everybody, just for watching. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. If there's anything else you want to know, anything else you have for me, just hit me up, DM me, do whatever you want to do. As always, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you all for being you.